Good morning, Dawgpound South campers. This is the Cleveland Browns Dawgpound South podcast, part of the Fanatical Elves Network, part of the Fans First Sports Network. Well, game one of the preseason is finished, and there were some good things, a lot of bad things. Some things answered a few questions. Let's put it that way. Let's get to the facts first. They lost 34-10 after building a 10-point lead. Chicago scored 34 unanswered points. If you're in your quarterback competition, Watson finished 11 of 13, 126, QBR 98.2. He started 10 of 11 for 117 yards. We'll get to more to that in a little bit. He had 6 series, 1 TD, 1 field goal. His longest pass through the air. I'm not going to count the Dylan Sampson screen because that was mostly Dylan Sampson. But his longest pass through the air was 15 yards. So not really opening it up with him. He did start the game with the starters and progressed to the second, third, fourth guys no longer going to be on the team. Sanders came in at halftime, 6 of 11, 79 yards, 1 interception, QBR 39.6. He did have a couple chunk plays. He threw a long 24-yard pass to Larvadan and a 35-yard pass to Luke Floria. So he did air it out a little bit. And, of course, Dylan Gabriel, well, I'll put it to you this way. Well, he was 5 of 8, 23 yards, interception, QBR 27.1. But judging from head coach Todd Monken at the end of the game, he could have called a timeout with about 4 or 5 seconds left. They were down near the goal line. He decided not to because I think he's seen enough. Same with me. I'm glad he didn't do it. A lot of people are asking why he did it. I don't care. Let's face facts. That was a clunker of the game, especially in the second half. The starting offensive line, which I was watching, Spencer Fano, Zion Johnson, Elton Jenkins at center. I'm going left to right. Tavon Jenkins at right guard, Titus Howard at right tackle. So Fano left tackle, Zion Johnson left guard. So 4 of the 5 are pretty much settled. They want Tavon Jenkins to step up and take over that right guard position. So, but they didn't play very long. I mean, Deshaun had him. Watson had him in the first half, and then they started migrating out. On defense, the starting defense was in for a couple series and 1 or 2 series. But a lot of them were missing because they're injured. Okay. Those are the facts. Those are all the stats and everything. Here's what really am. Okay, Deshaun Watson, everybody right now is saying he did okay. He's making some of the same mistakes he made 2 years ago. He's indecisive. Go back and watch, if you can, if you're able. There was a play where he threw to the tight end. He could have run and got more yards than the catch to the tight end because the linebacker was right there and nailed the tight end for, I think, 3-yard gain. He could have gotten at least 6, maybe 7. So indecisive. I counted 4 of Watson passes were behind 5. Were behind the receiver. The receiver, 4 of them were caught. 1 by Judy, but 1 was dropped. So he had 5 passes behind the wide receiver. And like I said in the statistics, his longest pass through the air was 15 yards. And that went to Denzel Boston down the sideline, who put a nice move on the DB. But as the talent level changed, so did his play. And you might, on the 4th and short where he fumbled the ball, Yes, Austin Barber was in the wrong spot, right tackle, but he's a rookie. If the number one offensive line had been in there, it looked like it would have worked. Strange things happen on fourth down, but to me, it looked like it worked. But when the change in talent went down, he really, really didn't look comfortable. In his last 12 plays, Watson only got 24 yards. So his last 12 plays, he averaged 2 yards. He started hot. I'll give it to him. He was 10 of 11, 117 yards, but his last 12 plays, 24 yards. And yeah, you could say, well, his talent level on offense. But then again, the Bears weren't starting their starters. They didn't start. They started some guy I'd never heard of at quarterback. Of course, Case Keenum came in and showed why Case Keenum is one of the best backups in the league and can pick apart third and fourth teamers, which he did. But as for Sanders, he did show improvement in a couple of ways. His footwork was better. He had a better pocket presence. He didn't retreat like he did last year, so I'll give him credit for that. But he's still holding onto the ball too tight. That interception is a perfect example. Now, of course, all the conspiracy theories is the wide receiver wasn't where he was supposed to be. All the Sanderites are saying that. No, even Sanders said everything was there. I just overthrew it. He's got to eliminate these overthrows. He grips the ball too tight. He wants to really rip it. Sometimes you got to have a little touch. And don't say, well, he was one of the most accurate passers in college. College and pros are two different things when it comes to accuracy and when it comes to quarterbacks. Way too different. Okay? So, I'm not down on him. I can't wait to see what he does against Buffalo. Hopefully, Todd Monken will play the ones in the preseason game because we're not going to get to see the scrimmages against Buffalo. But I hope he does to give Sanders the same opportunity that Watson got. So that's what I'm looking forward to. But basically in this quarterback room, I still say it's mediocre at best. Watson still displays the same mistakes he made 2 years ago. Sanders shows improvement. Now, of the two, this is the week for Shedeur Sanders to step up and get past Deshaun Watson. I've been saying this since the minicamp. Now's your time. You're out of time, Shedeur. This is it. Nobody in Cleveland wants to see Deshaun Watson and the starting quarterback in Jacksonville. I can pretty much guarantee that. Nobody does. So this is your chance. This week, you're going against a very good opponent. NFL Network kept jumping into that game against Carolina. Carolina is showing why they're not that great right now because of all the injuries they've had. But this is your opportunity right here this week. Take it, grab it. Like I said, he showed improvement. Deshaun Watson hasn't. Let's take a quick break. All right, we're back at the Cleveland Browns Dawgpound South podcast, brought to you by Hemisphere Coffee. There, you see a little streamer down here, HemisphereCoffeeRoasters.com. They shake the hand of the farmer, and also by Sherry's Licorice. Go to Sherry'sLicorice.com, put in the code ELFZ, ELFZ, Network 15, and you can get 15% off orders of $25 or more. All right, so one thing that I mentioned Case Keenum is good because he's a very good backup quarterback, and he takes advantage of bad young defenses. This game really, really pointed out to me the lack of depth this team has, especially on defense, especially in the defensive secondary. Now, they did get 2 sacks later. One was from Okawara, and one was from Sidenor. Both guys are going to be practice squad players. There were some bright spots on defense. I'll get to that in a second. But it just showed the lack of defensive talent in depth. Yes, this team can have a top 5, top 10 defense, but if players start getting hurt, they are going to show a dramatic decline. So Andrew Berry needs to get busy and pick up some veteran defense, especially in the secondary, especially a corner. I know. Denzel Ward, Tyson Campbell didn't play, and that probably would have made a difference for a full game. But still, it showed the weakness of the depth. So on offense, yeah, a lot of people are criticizing the offensive line, but they weren't in there that much, and they need to gel. They need to get this right guard situation fixed. KT Levinson, I don't think he's going to be the guy. Jack Conley, I don't think so. Tavon Jenkins needs to step up, or they need to find another right guard because these guys need to gel. They had no push whatsoever. The running game suffered because of it. Yes, the stats say they got 108 yards rushing, but 53 of that was from some guy who probably doesn't even make the team, a guy named Booth. Devon Booth, 53 yards of the 108. And that all happened in the fourth quarter, mostly the last drive. So, yeah, they're not getting any push. They haven't gelled yet. So let's establish who the starters are. All five, play them, scrimmage, preseason game, last preseason game, get them to gel. Got to get the running game going. Running game get going, the passing game will get going. Of course, the highlight of the first half was KC Concepcion. If you guys have followed us here at Fanatical Elves Network, you know that I talked to John about this way back in October, late October, when I had just watched one of his games, and I thought, oh man, this kid is going to be great, and he is electric. On defense, not a lot to talk about, but I really like Michael Coates Jr. He got injured, unfortunately, but he's an undrafted rookie free agent. They gave him a lot of guaranteed money, so I kind of figured he'd make the team, and he showed. He got an interception, broke a couple pass plays. He looked good. He didn't look intimidated, so that's good. So there's your star on defense, Coates, star on offense, KC Concepcion. The one thing that I was very surprised about, the Cleveland Browns now have a boring special teams. I'm not talking about, when I say boring, I say coverage, not returns. KC Concepcion, boom. First time he touched the ball, and he tripped over his own feet, unfortunately. I think he would have taken that a lot farther. But coverage, boring. Nobody's talking about it. I love it. They were good. That's all they need to be. If your defense is top 10 and the offense can get the running game going, all your special teams need to be is good. Average to good. Good, I'll take. The coverage looked very good yesterday. I was very impressed. These guys may not be able to play against an offense, but they sure the hell can cover kicks and punts. Very impressive. Very impressed. Corey Bojorquez punted well. Andrew Schmidt, I noticed a couple times he put it where he needed to put it to help the coverage. That's simple in kicking. You kick the ball to help the coverage, to set up the coverage to stop the returner. So I'm very happy special teams look well. They were boring. I love it. Yay. That was probably the only highlight of this game for me. And KC Concepcion. And he got his first touchdown, which is nice. So that's it for game one. It really doesn't count. The only thing that matters is the progression of the quarterbacks. Like I said, Deshaun Watson isn't going to get any better. This is who he is. He showed the same mistakes that he made. He covered it up because the talent around him was better than it was 2 years ago. He had better skill positions around him than he did 2 years ago. So that covers up some of his mistakes. And you saw that as he got into the second team. Amplified his mistakes. He was doing the same things he was doing with the first team, but you just didn't notice it because the players around him were better. So this is what you're going to get with Deshaun Watson. And there's no guarantee he's going to be the starter week one in Jacksonville. Shedeur Sanders, all he needs to do is improve this week. That's it. He can pass Deshaun Watson and become the starter. He's got to clean up his mistakes. He's got to quit grabbing the ball too tight. You saw it on that interception. He zipped it and it overthrew the wide receiver. The wide receiver was where he was supposed to be. And even Sanders said it in the news conference. Everything worked well. I just overthrew. Okay, so that's it for today. Next Saturday, Buffalo. They'll have a scrimmage, I think, Thursday, Friday, and then have the game on Saturday. Like I said, I hope Monken keeps his promise and starts the first teamers again. That offensive, well, it depends on how they do in scrimmage. If they have a successful scrimmage, according to the coaches, against Buffalo, who looked pretty damn good yesterday, then he might just put some second teamers out there to get some reps. But I would prefer he at least give Shador an opportunity with a couple series with a starting offensive line, and Concepcion and Judy and Fannin and, all the good talent. I know Quinshon Judkins only had 4 touches, which I'm fine with. Get him out of there. He's going to be the horse. We all know what he can do. But the offensive line needs to gel. So hopefully he'll start the number 1 offensive line next Saturday against Buffalo. All right, so that's it for today. I want to thank you for joining us here on the Cleveland Browns Dawgpound South podcast, part of the Fanatical Elves Network, part of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Steve Gill, and as always, thank you for watching, listening, subscribing, and following us here at the Fanatical Elves Network. We're just Browns fans like you. We watch that game too. So everybody, have a great Sunday and go Browns.